Yo, what is up? So in this tutorial, we're going to be getting our D-pads to work on our PlayStation controller. So right now I just have the D-pads printing off the axis values when I press them. So press up, it prints out 1, press up and right, it prints out that number, press right, it prints out that number, press down right, prints out that number, press down, prints out that number, print down, press down right or down left, prints out that one, press left, it prints out that number, press up left, and it prints out that number. And yeah, it's quite a bit of stuff to do. So yeah, let's just hop into it. All right, so first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go up here to our edit project settings. We're gonna scroll down to our raw input, and we need to here, let me just close all of these out. Like that. Alright, so what we need to do, if you're using a PlayStation 4 controller, we need to enable this generic USB controller access 5. If you're using a PlayStation 5 controller, you need to enable this generic USB access 8. So I'm using PS4, so I'm going to enable that one. Alright, so next thing we're going to do, we're going to go into our third person blueprints. And we're going to make a specific controller for us. So right click, go to blueprint class, and we're just going to make a player controller. And we're just going to call this Souls controller. And then we're going to go into our third person game mode here. And we're going to set our player controller class to be our Souls controller. Compile and save. And then we're gonna hop into our Souls controller here and go to the event graph. We can delete all of that for now. Compile and save. And then we need to go into our inputs. So go to your inputs. Let's go into our actions, and we're gonna duplicate the jump for now. Yeah, duplicate the jump for now. We're gonna call this input action D-pad up. We're gonna go into that, and we want to change this value type from digital bool to axis 1D. And now we're gonna hop into our inputs, IMC default, and we're gonna use this one for testing at the start. So we're just gonna add our input action D-pad up. And now when you hop in and play, what you'll see... still not doing it. Hold on. For some reason. Oh yeah, we need to add our generic USB controller, Axis 5. Or whichever one you're using. If you're using PlayStation 5, it'll be the Axis 8. For me, it's going to be Axis 5. And now when we hop in, what you'll see... Oh, it's still not doing it. Let me see if the controller's working. It is. Okay. Okay. So. Alright, so what we need to do now, I'm going to pull up my references. What we need is we need to make a custom modifier. And we also need to make a custom trigger. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So we're just going to go into our input actions here. We're going to right click blueprint class, and we're going to take this all classes down here. We're going to find modifier, input modifier right here. And let me just look at what I named it here. That's the modifier, D-pad axis modifier. Yeah, we're going to call it that. D-pad axis modifier. So we're gonna open that up, and I'm gonna have to check my notes a lot in this one because I do not have this stuff memorized. And what we need to do in here is we need to override a function. So go over here to your functions, override modify raw, like this. And let's see, let me check my notes here. And we need to add all of these into the parent modify raw. So player input, current value, and delta time right here. And then what we need to do is we need to break the input here. So just disconnect this, and we're going to type in break, and we're going to get that. And then what we need to do is we need to subtract this number and then divide it by a number, and then make right here. So pull off of right here, and we're going to make input action value, and then we're going to pull off of the x-axis. We're going to subtract. We're going to subtract this number right here, 1.143. 1.143. Then we're going to divide it by the same number, I believe. Let me just move this stuff back. Then we're going to pull off of here. We're going to divide by 1.143. Yep. 1.143. We're going to hook that into the X, and then for these, we could just hook them straight in. Like that. And something else we're going to do real quick. Let's go into our blueprints. We're done with that part, so you can close this guy out. We're gonna go into our Souls controller here. We're gonna open the full blueprint editor, and we're gonna make our D-pad up, and we're just gonna use this for testing because you may need some of these values. And on the triggered for now, we're just gonna print string, and what you want to print is this action value. So hook that in, compile and save, and when you hop in and when you press your D-pads right now and directions, it'll give you hold on, let me go to we need to do something else first. Let's go to our input actions, D-pad up. We're gonna go ahead and add dead zone, and then we're gonna add our custom D-pad access modifier, and then we're gonna uncheck this consume layer, I believe. Let me check my notes here. Yeah, we're gonna uncheck that. So uncheck that guy right there. And now when you hop in, and it is not printing string. So let me see. Alright, so in your input action D-pad up on the lower threshold, we're going to set this to 0.01. Then upper threshold to 1. Alright, so for now, go into your input action D-pad up and get rid of the D-pad access modifier for now, because I want to show you something. Press play, and when you press play, it's going to print off 1, and what that 1 number is your up D-pad. So what you want to do here, just in case your values are different, you want to press each D-pad and write that number down, because you're going to need these values. So this is up right for me, this is right for me, this is down right for me, and this is down for me, this is down left for me, this is left, and then this is up left, if I can get it to print. It's only doing it very briefly. Yeah, it's that number. If you want that to not constantly be printing off, what you can do is right here, move this from triggered to started, and that way it'll just print off when you press it. So up and left there, let me click on here, up and left, I guess one of my buttons are messed up. We'll go back into triggered. Yeah, you want to get that number. It might be easier for you to get. You can try to pause it. That up and left value there is what you want to get. But alright, so for now we're gonna hop back into our input action D-pad up, and we're gonna add our D-pad axis modifier back. And then we need to make a custom trigger, so we're gonna do the same thing. Go up here to blueprint class, and the all classes here, we're gonna find trigger, input trigger right here. And then we're gonna select that, and let me check my notes here, and I called it D-pad trigger. So yeah, we'll just call it damn it. So we're just gonna call it D-pad trigger, and we're gonna open that bad boy up, and we need to override the function here. We want to get this update state, and we're gonna have to do a bunch of stuff in here. Alright, so let me just pull up my reference here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to break this value here. So let's do that. Disconnect that, and we're gonna break it. Then we're gonna get a nearly equal on the x-axis. So pull off of here, get a nearly equal right here. Then after this, we're gonna grab a branch so you can get a B. Press B on your keyboard and click. Hook that guy in, and yeah, we're just gonna hook this in. We're gonna hook this into the true, and I think we're disconnecting that guy right there. Yeah, we are. And we want that to be triggered, so we're gonna set this one to be triggered. So do that. Then we're gonna copy this and paste it, and this one's gonna be none, and plug that one in. And then what we want to do is we want to do some stuff down here. So we want to, off the B axis, we want to get a select, but before we get the select, we need to make an enum. So let's just save. We're gonna right click, and we're gonna make an enumeration. So you're gonna go to blueprint enumeration, and what an enumeration is, it's basically just a list of things. So we're just gonna call this D-pad underscore E for enum. And what we want to do in here is we want to list what all of our D-pad actions are going to be. So add enumerator. We're just going to call this D-pad up, and we're going to add another one, D-pad up left. We're going to add another one, or not up left, we want to do up right first. Up right. Then we're gonna right here add a D-pad right. Then we're gonna add a D-pad down down right. Then we're gonna add a D-pad down. And we're gonna add a D-pad. Oh, whoops! Let me type that. D-pad down like that. Then we're gonna do D-pad down left, and then we're gonna do D-pad left. We're gonna add another one, D-pad up left, and I think that we're good. 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So yeah, we just need this enum. So in enumeration, you'll see a bunch of these throughout the tutorials. Basically what you can do is you can make a list of things, and then you can make things happen based on different things that are selected within a list. So yeah, we'll be using these a lot. You'll see them more later on. But for now, we're gonna hop into our D-pad trigger, and we want to add a variable here. It's gonna be called our D-pad. What did I call it? D-pad direction. Yeah, we're gonna call this D-pad direction. And this is just gonna be our D-pad E, our D-pad enum here. And we're gonna pull this guy in. We're gonna get it. Then we're gonna select. You wanna get a select on that. And you see it brings this list of all the things we added into it. And then we wanna add this one to our B right here. So hook that to the B, and then on the error tolerance here, we're gonna set this to 0.02, I believe. Let me double check that. 0.002. So 0.002. And the reason earlier why I showed you to get those values is because you're gonna want to put those values in each one of these for each one of your directions. So yeah, that's why you need those numbers. So I'm just gonna copy my values. So D-pad up is gonna be 1. D-pad up right for me is gonna be 0.874. 0.874. And when you copy the values, once you get, you know, you can kind of round off on some of them. As you see, I don't put the whole value in, but yeah. So the next one for me is going to be 0.748. 0.748. Next one is going to be 0.622. 0.622. Next one is going to be 0.496. 0.496. Next one's gonna be 0.37. 0.37. Next one's gonna be 0.243. 0.243. Next one's gonna be 0.117. 0.117. And I believe that's all we need to do in here. Let me just double check. No, it's not. We need to get the type right here, and we need to add an AND to this boolean. So off of nearly equal, we're gonna pull off of this, and we're gonna get an AND boolean. And on the type here, we want to get a equal. So pull off of here and get an equal. Equal enum. Equal enum. And we're gonna set this to axis 1D float, I believe. Yeah, axis 1D float. And then we're gonna hook this into the AND boolean, and then hook the AND boolean into the branch. And I believe that's all we need to do in here. Let me just double check. Yeah, I think we are good. Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna compile and save. And we can close this down, we can close this down, we can close this down. And we need to add this to our trigger here. So go into your input action D-pad up, and we're going to add that trigger. And we're going to add the D-pad trigger here. And if you open this list, you now have these options here where you can choose all of your D-pad directions. So we're going to leave this one as D-pad up. And let's just go ahead and do a save here. And now, basically what we're going to have to do is add an input action for each D-pad direction, and then add all of those to our IMC default. So, in our input action D-pad up, looks like we're good to go. But we're going to go ahead and add our stuff for Xbox as well while we're here. So, we're going to get our gamepad D-pad up. Add that to it. Then we're going to go into our Souls controller, and as you can see, we're going to print that string off when we press D-pad up. And it's not printing for some reason. 1 second. Okay. Alright, so I figured out I made one mistake in our D-pad trigger here. We want to also hook this modified value to this. So make sure you do that. So now, still not printing though. Oh, I forgot to, in the D-pad axis modifier, we forgot to add this into the divide value there. Still not printing though. Let me see. I'm just gonna pull up my other project and check some things. Okay, so I figured out something that I messed up. So in here, I had this hooked up to here, so you actually want this hooked to the bottom, and you want to set this to 1.143, like that. And that's something that we messed up. And so let me just go back here and add my trigger. And D-pad up. And yeah, now it prints. So yeah, make sure you do that. In the D-pad axis modifier, make sure you have this X hooked to the bottom, because you want to subtract this from 1.143, and then come into here and divide 1.143. So now, as you can see, when we hop in and we press up, we get that to print. So now, what we need to do is we need to add the input actions for all of the directions. So we're just gonna duplicate this one, and we're gonna call this one up, right, and we're gonna open that up, and we're gonna set the trigger right here to be D-pad up, right, and we're gonna pull this into our Souls controller, and we're just gonna find our up, right, input action D-pad up, right, and we're just gonna copy this print string and paste it in and hook this into the action values. So let's just check that one. So when we go up, oh yeah, we need to add it to our IMC default, so let's do that. So we'll add this D-pad up, right here, and then we're gonna add our generic axis 5. And for Xbox controllers, they don't have options for upright on the D-pad, so we're just gonna do Xbox controls on the up, right, down, and left. So now let's hop in, and we're going to print up. Why is that one not printing? Okay, I figured out the issue there. So in your dead zone, on your input actions, you want to set the lower threshold to 0.01. I figured it should have already done that since we had it that. We didn't have that over there. So yeah, make sure you set those to 0.01. So now, when you hop in and you push upright, you get that value. You push up, you get that value. Push upright, you get that value. Okay, so now we're just gonna duplicate these. This not being capital is gonna bug the hell out of me, so let me fix that real quick. That right there. Alright, so now we're just gonna duplicate this upright, and we're gonna call this D-pad right. We're gonna open that, and then we're gonna set it to be our D-pad right, upright. Let me fix that one, because I was messing with it on testing, so let me set that right there. So now upright. Okay, there we go. So now go into your input IMC default, and we're just gonna add that one. So add action mapping, and we're gonna set it to be D-pad right, and we're gonna open that up and set it to be our generic controller axis 5. And for this one, we can add our Xbox controls. So gamepad, D-pad right, and now we need to add this to our input. Actually, third person blueprint Souls controller, and I have these set on the started now instead of the triggered, so that way you just press once and it shows. So D-pad right, input action D-pad right, And we're just gonna copy this and paste it. Started. And hook the action value into here. And we're just gonna close this and press Q. So now when we press the right button, it'll print that. Upright, it prints that. Up, it prints that. And yeah. So now we just need to do that for all of the rest of the things. I'm gonna close down a bunch of these. Got a bunch of tabs open. Alright, so let's just go into our third person input actions. We're gonna get our D-pad right here, and we're just gonna call this one down right, and we're gonna open that one up. We're gonna set the trigger to be D-pad down right. Oh, I just realized I made a mistake in the enum, didn't I? Yeah, let me just fix that capital A. That's gonna bug the hell out of me. Looks like I did that on a bunch of them. Let me just fix that. Alright, that should be good. Alright, so now let's go to our IMC default. We're gonna add this. Let me make sure I added that. D-pad down right. We're gonna go to the IMC default. We're gonna add it. D-pad. Oh, we forgot to add our. Did it get rid of our gamepad? Hold up. D-pad right. Alright, so let's add our D-pad. I hate how it automatically opens a bunch of them when you add one. It's kind of annoying. So we're gonna add our D-pad down right. Yeah, that is annoying as hell. And we're gonna make this our generic USB access 5. And then we're gonna add this to our controller. Down right. Input action D-pad down right. Gonna open it, copy this print string, and plug that in. Hook this into the action value, close that up, and just highlight it, press Q. Now when we hop in and we press D-pad down right, it prints the value. So let's go ahead and do it for our down. Duplicate the down right input action here. We're gonna call this D-pad down. We're gonna open that up, set the trigger to be down, D-pad down. And we're gonna add that to our IMC default. So press the plus. And we're gonna add our input action D-pad down. Then we're gonna set this to be our generic USB access 5. And we'll add one. And we're gonna add our gamepad D-pad down. And now we're gonna add this to our controller here. D-pad down, input action D-pad down. And we're gonna print the string, so copy that. Hook this into started, hook this into action values, close that back up, press Q. So now, when we hop in and we press play, we press down, we get that value. So, let's copy this. And we're gonna get our down left. Input action D-pad down left. We're gonna change the trigger to be our down left. And let me just close some of these, and we're gonna add this to our IMC default, and we're gonna get our D-pad down left, and we're gonna set that to be our generic USB controller Axis 5. Then we're gonna go to our Souls controller, and we're gonna get down left, input action D-pad down left, and we're gonna print the string to make sure it's working. So hook that in, and then hook this into the action values, close that, highlight it all, press Q. So now when you hop in, you press play, you click down left, you get the value. So now we just need just two more, and then we'll be done. So duplicate our down left, and we're just gonna call this D-pad left. We're gonna open that up. Open the trigger. We're going to set this to be our D-pad left value, and hop into our IMC default, add it, D-pad left, and we're going to set this to be our generic USB controller Axis 5, and then we'll add our Xbox controls as well. So we'll get our gamepad, D-pad left, and then we're going to add this to the Souls controller. We're going to get our D-pad left, input action D-pad left, open it up. We're going to copy the print string and hook it up like this, close it, highlight it, press Q, compile, save, hop in, press play, press left, and we get that value. So we know it's working, and now we just got one more. So let's duplicate our D-pad left. We're going to call this one D-pad up left, and we're going to open that up, change the trigger to be D-pad up left right here, and we're going to add it to our IMC defaults. Add that. Did it not add? We're gonna get where is it? D-pad up left right here, and we're gonna set it to be our generic USB Axis 5, and we'll just do a save there. Hop into our Souls controller. We're gonna get our up left, input action D-pad up left, and we'll open it up, copy the print string, plug it in, and we'll just hook that in, close that up, highlight it, press Q, and now when we hop in, press play, and we get up left on that value. It's kind of hard to press for me. I think it prints, but that one's kind of hard to get, but it is working. As you can see, we press all the D-pad directions, we get all of the values, and that way we know our D-pad is working. Like I said in the last video, getting the D-pad to work is a whole box of worms, and yeah, this is actually my first time doing it, so this was a bit of a learning process for myself. But yeah, so just to show you something, unfortunately, since we're using this generic USB controller Axis 5, you might be a little bit upset with me, but in our main menu, just to give you an example, when you press play, it's automatically going to fire off the any key button, because that axis is basically going to be constantly firing off even after we go into our project, whoops, not that. Even after we go into our project settings, and go into raw inputs, get rid of this. Once we get rid of, once we go into the button properties and disable all the buttons that we don't need, that input action Axis 5 is still gonna constantly fire off. And so what we're gonna have to do to get rid of that is we're gonna have to make a new input action. We're gonna make a new input action any key, and sadly what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to go into our IMC default. We're gonna have to add the input action any key, and then we're gonna have to literally select every key that you want as an option to fire off on the any key button, so that way that it doesn't just immediately fire off right there. So what we're gonna do in the next one is we're gonna go through and we're gonna figure out it's just gonna be a skippable video. You can do it by yourself if you want, but what I'm gonna do in the next video is we're gonna go into our raw inputs and we're gonna figure out which button properties we need. We're just gonna go through and we're gonna press buttons and disable all the ones that we don't need, and then in the video after that we're gonna go through and make the any key button. We're just gonna add all of the we're gonna make, like I just said a minute ago, we're gonna make the any key input action and then add all of those into the any key input action. And then yeah, so those two, they're gonna be kind of tedious, and like I said, I kind of explained it so you could do it on your own, but I'm gonna still make a video on them because I don't want to skip out anything that I'm doing here. But yep, we're gonna call it here for now. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you're new around here, definitely subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know those down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.